not me saying, "Aw." Am I okay? I was listening to that on my drive to work, and I said, "Aw, girl, I don't." I don't even know the right reaction to give myself. Hey, thanks for clicking on the video. My name is Kaylee. This is Read, Rant, Review, where, you guessed it, I read books and I do rant reviews. Today, we are going to be talking about a dark Christmas romance novella about a stalker Santa Claus. This is a 112-page novella that was published in December of 2023, of course. It's a lot. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of spice. I laughed. I cried. I questioned if I needed to schedule an additional appointment with my therapist. It's a good time. So I'm here to talk about that. And it'll be great. Before we get into the video, though, I do have the same 3 disclaimers that I put on all of these types of videos. The first one being, this review is not for the author. It's not for fans, friends, family stans, anything like that. This will mostly be me just laughing my ass off, semi-making fun of the book, semi-genuinely enjoying it, and really just, I'm here to have a good time. Don't watch this if you are the author or friends with them, okay? Or if you like this book, just, I'll see you in the next one, okay? Second disclaimer being, this will be a spoiler, like literally, I will be doing a beat by beat, chapter by chapter breakdown of this book. So if you actually want to read it, I'll see you in the next one as well. I will be, however, I do want to caveat that with, I will be skipping quite a bit of this novella because I don't get paid enough to read this type of shit on the internet. You know what I'm saying? Like, that, the hourly rate to just be reading pure smut on the internet is like a whole other caliber in which I am not compensated for. So I will be skipping a lot of it. And the disclaimer number 3 is usually a content or trigger warning. I will provide you the one that is at the beginning of the book because I was pretty happy with it. So the content warning is as follows. Sacked and Slayed is a very dark Christmas novella with triggering themes and content throughout. This is a loose Saint Nick retelling but contains no magic other than the Christmas kind. This book contains graphic, violent, and sexual content that may be upsetting to some readers. The following lists some, not all, of the potentially sensitive subjects included. If you have specific concerns, please reach out to the author's website and then Facebook group. So, content within: dubious consent, non-consent, unaliving, historic child abuse, breath play, stalking, abduction, somnophilia, which is having relations with someone who's asleep, drugging, Stockholm syndrome, and holiday puns. Okay, we were doing so good. We were doing so good. The dedication. Okay, hey, if you are a coworker or family or someone who knows me in real life, click the off this video. I don't know why you're still here. The dedication to the universal dream that Santa is really a big-dicked, masked stalker waiting to penetrate you with a lawn ornament. I said, oh my god. I'm excited. Fuck off. So we go into the book, okay? I will get into it in a second. I got you, bitches. I got you locked in. I'm gonna caveat real quick for some housekeeping. Super fast. I promise you. If you're watching this video, that means that this is also uploaded on Spotify. I started uploading all of my videos on Spotify for accessibility, so that will be linked in the description box below. Also, because you guys are so awesome and like absolutely phenomenal, I now have memberships for this channel. So if you would like to support this channel additionally, like beyond viewing, which is more than enough, I have that option down below. I have a link and everything, and there's a couple benefits for memberships as well. The other thing, I post weekly polls to like pick what I review next and what I talk about next. Please engage with that. I want to know what the community wants to see. I'm here for you. Tell me what you want, and like I will abide by it. The other thing, if you have watched any of my final thing, by the way, the final thing, I'm in a different filming situation than usual. I usually film in my living room or my office, but I live with a lot of people. We got a lot of animals. It's very loud. You've probably heard it in the background. So I'm in a different filming location in my house, hopefully wedged away in a corner somewhere where you won't hear all of that nonsense. But that also means that you get to see even more of my books. So this is my nonfiction collection that is usually very hidden. It's like therapy books, grad school books, nonfiction entrepreneurial bullshit, And then these top 2 shelves are fiction and romance and books that I like and books that I want to talk about eventually. So just so we're all oriented with the new space. Thanks for watching. If you understand that this is new, I appreciate you. I appreciate your time. Y'all are great. Into the book. So we open up our book with our main female character, Bianca. She works as Santa's elf in the mall while she's finishing college, and Santa is a creepy guy named Ralph who, while not doing anything to her physically, sure has made some questionable comments and has made her feel uncomfortable. And she's getting tired of this job. This is like the 6th year that she's been a Santa's elf, and she's tired of it. She is like over the holiday cheer. She's really not hitting the mark as a Christmas elf. Her friend Katie says, "More enthusiasm, Bee." Katie encourages. She's bouncing all over the place, and I'm pretty sure her cluelessness and D-cup are why Ralph likes her so much. Her long blonde hair and sweet upturned nose give her the perfectly elfin appearance, and she's stunning. She's also a late bloomer and not used to the effect that she has on men. This is her first year working as an elf for Santa's village. This is year 6 for me, and I'm about as sick of the job as I am struggling to make ends meet. I'm almost done with school, though, just a few more months. That's why she's putting up with it, with a job that she hates and with like a situation that is not great. We learn later she also does not have a very good family, like, home support system. So this is really her only option. She finally escaped an abusive home. Her stepfather would hurt her and her mother. She escaped. She got a scholarship. She got into school. She's barely scraping by. Like, she's doing what she can to be a boss-ass bitch, which, hey, love that. As Katie and Bianca, B, are helping one of the little girls onto Santa's lap, and they go through the whole spiel. They give her a little goodie bag, and Katie is trying to upsell the mother on a photo package. The little girl hands Bianca an envelope. "The man over there said that you're the prettiest elf, and he asked me to give you this. He also said that your name is Bianca, and that means white in Italian, and that you're his princess, like Snow White." She hands me a small card tucked into an envelope with a familiar flourish. My heart stops, then picks up in double time. I knew he was here. I felt it. Close enough to watch me. He's so damn impatient, so constant, the most dependable thing in my life. "Thanks, sweetheart, but don't talk to strangers, okay?" What the fuck? So this little girl gave Bianca the card. Bianca does not open the envelope. The envelope is from Klaus. Klaus is a stalker that she has had for years, but she doesn't want to open the card because she's busy and it's work, and she just like doesn't want to be distracted. And Katie is there, and Katie is clocking that something is wrong. Bianca is going to school for psychology, and when Katie clocks that something is wrong, Bianca tells her, "Nothing's wrong, Katie. I'm just stressed out because of this exam that's coming up, like the finals coming up." The truth is, I've been lying to her for a long time now, and longer, if you count the months. I suspected someone might be following me but wasn't sure. I know I have a stalker, but what do I do about it if I'm not sure I want him to go away? His note burns red hot in my pocket. It's one of many, and each one has chipped away at my defenses. I work the rest of my shift, and my stalker's eyes remain on me. I don't need any other messages from children to feel his gaze like the weight of a touch. He knows I haven't read his note, and his impatience courses through both of us. Christmas lights flash from all directions, and boughs of holly and mistletoe hang in the air. "Read it, Bianca. Read it." I feel and ignore his demand, but eventually he gives up, and that weight fades. He's off to wherever he goes when he's not with me, to the other side of the world for all I know. So she ends her shift. Ralph leaves. Katie and her are prepping for the next day for a little while until Katie eventually leaves, and then it's just Bianca. As Bianca starts to close up for the night, right, and she's about to leave, the note feels heavy in my pocket. I want to read it, but I need to be alone with his words. Each time I get one, I'm frightened. I'm terrified that this person watches me, follows me, makes plans for our life together without my input or consent. If my feelings on the subject stopped there, my only problem would be contacting the authorities and hunting him down. But then comes the warmth and indescribable satisfaction found in being the center of someone's universe. I've never been that before, and honestly, being afraid makes me fucking My hands only shake harder as I put everything away. 20 minutes later, I'm settled up with my keys firmly gripped in one hand. My other hand trails the letter in my pocket, and I'm ready for this day to be over. I close the door to the stand behind me, flip the little latch, and lock it, as if someone couldn't easily hop over the divider if they wanted. I'm achy and missing the man I've never seen before. Planning to myself to his letter because they're always panty melters. What? She goes to leave. Why didn't you read it, Snowflake? Oh my god. I stopped dead in my tracks, but I don't dare look over my shoulder. I've only heard his voice 2 other times, so this makes number 3. I'm scared. She doesn't respond. She's thinking to herself, she's like, okay, he's never hurt me. Like, he's never said anything to indicate that he means harm to me, but he's clearly not stable. He's never approached me directly before, and I'm struck by the realization that I'm not safe. I asked you a question. She starts trembling, and then eventually, finally, she says, I usually wait until I'm home to read them. You always at least peek, Bianca. This time you didn't. I'm sorry. As he gets closer to her, his large hulking frame overshadowing her, and she's scared, thinking about how this is like breaking the pattern. What if it was important? A matter of life or death? Aren't they all? You really are such a good girl. It's a shame that I have to punish you. She says, okay, he's hot as fuck. Like, she turns, she sees him, and she's like, oh my god, he's 6'3" and hot, but he's also, like, masked and, like, hooded and obviously, like, hiding his appearance, and he's very, very scary and intimidating, and I'm booking it, bro. And with that, I turn and run for my life. He's never mentioned punishments before, and she's scared. Me too, girly pop. Me too. I don't know what's happening. So in chapter 2, I laughed my ass off when this happened. So for context, I've had a couple of people ask me how I read books so quickly. Like, how do I knock this out? What am I doing? The answer is I review books that are on Kindle Unlimited, and I listen to the audiobook at 3.5 speed, and then I pause and take notes and do whatever I can in the meantime, or highlight or whatever. But that's how I knock them out. The 3.5 speed is about how fast I read, and so it helps, like, dual information stuff happening. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Point being, I was listening to it while I was driving to work, and this shit happened. Like, I was listening to chapter 2 while I was driving to work, and I was dying. I was like, oh my god, the whole drive. And I couldn't do anything about it. I was just, like, suffering, and not in silence, but, like, basically silence, because I was in my car by myself, and I couldn't document it. I was losing my shit, bro. So in chapter 2, Bianca, my freaking elf shoes slap on the tile as I... My freaking elf shoes slap on the tile as I sprint away, and the small bells on the tips of the exaggerated toes jingle with every step. So this bitch is booking it through the mall, just jingle-jangling. Her jingle-jangling all over the mall floor. She tries to outrun him, but she's not fit, and her outfit works against her, and I'm pretty certain he'll strangle me and fuck my corpse for ignoring him, so it's time I kick my ass into high gear. That's a direct quote. And I said, oh, fuck, okay, that's what we're getting into. Oh, Jesus Christ. So, she keeps running. She's dodging. She's diving. She's dodging. She's rolling. He's grabbing her. She breaks free. She keeps going. This is silly. We both know that your ankle has to be sore after being on your feet all day. I look over my shoulder at that, finding him only about 10 paces behind me. How the fuck does he know every single thing? Like the fact that I broke my ankle playing basketball in 6th grade and that it's never been right since. He barely sounds winded, and I'm half dead from the effort. Plus, he's absolutely right. My ankle's killing me. He's playing with me. Be my good girl and take your punishment, and I'll rub it for you. Oh my god. Finally, she's able to stumble into a room that has a lock on it. Pops in, locks the door behind her, has like a moment of reprieve, right? I pull my phone out of my pocket. I'm gonna call mall security to get me the hell out of here. I won't call the police for reasons I don't want to examine too closely. I'm surrounded by thick hanging garlands and mountains of cotton fluff beneath my feet. The phone rings 3 times before the door crashes open, the wood splintering and flying everywhere. I scream as he pulls his body through, not bothering to remove the splintered wood tearing at him in his desperation to get to me. The violence I feared is a separate presence in the room, and I'm entirely cowed by it. Cowed? C-O-W-E-D, by the way. Not a verb I was familiar with, so I googled it, and cowed means to cause someone to submit to one's wishes by intimidation. So I learned something new today. Maybe you did too. It's not all just smut reading and bullshitting and being a hater on this channel. It's educational. His red hood is still up. His rigid plastic mask is still in place. The only hint that he is furious with me is the tightening around his eyes. He looks like a dark rendition of Santa surrounded by all of the decorations. A well-dressed model placed here to sell modern clothes among the holiday cheer. I'm fucking wet for him already, and I'm pretty sure he's going to kill me. So help me God, Snowflake. If you called the cops on me, is that 911? No, just mall security. You're fucking crazy if you think mall security could do a thing to keep me from you. Could the police? They have guns, so they could kill me. But he's not worried about that. I'm on the ground. Legs slightly spread apart. Too fucking shocked to even snap my knees together. And so he's like, open the letter. Read the letter. She does. Snowflake, I hope you're having a good shift. I know you're a good girl and haven't done it on purpose, but I need you to be more careful with what belongs to me. Your skirt keeps getting stuck, and while I enjoy you flashing me your ass and C-word, I doubt that pervy fuck behind you is your intended audience. My messages aren't for you to ignore, Snowflake. I watch out for you for a reason. You need me. I've been fine on my own for a long time, Klaus. It's the first time that I've said his name out loud. His eyes close and his fists clench like he's savoring the experience. You have no idea how long I've been around to help you, Snowflake. It's not for you to decide which of my messages get priority. They all have immediate importance to you. Do you understand that? What is there to understand? You send me letters. I open them. You tell me you're gonna fuck me. How we're going to live one day, and I have no control. I have no access to you, but I'm open to you. Isn't that the game? This isn't a game to me, Snowflake. This is about our future. Everything I've done for a reason. But if you want to play games so badly, we can arrange that before your punishment. And so he flips the lights on in this room that they're in. It turns out they're not in some hallway. They're not in some abandoned room. They are in, like, the display case for the mall, like the Christmas display case with all of the animatronics. So he says, oh, you want to play a game, sweetie? Flips the switch, all of the animatronics come to life, right? We got a snowman waving, we got Rudolph with his bright ass red nose, we got a little train running around them as she is getting confronted by this man. This scene ends. This is so funny because I opened up my Kindle app and the last book I was reading is Red Comet, which is like an 800-page biography about Sylvia Plath. Sorry, girl. This feels so disrespectful. I'm going from reading Sylvia fucking Plath biography to smut on the internet. Oh, this is the duality. This is the true duality that I've always dreamed of having. He then approaches her very rapidly. Right, grabs her hair, grabs her, pulls him up to him and says, you're mine, Snowflake. Every fucking thing I am is yours. Do you really think you don't have access to me? I'm always watching. Open your mouth and say my name and I will find you. How? Well, that would be telling, and I prefer to keep you a believer. He goes to touch her in like a natural way, you know, touching her boobs and whatnot, and he says, it's been a long time since I've been this close to you while you were awake. I know you. You wouldn't remember me, pretty Bianca, but yes, you've been mine for a very long time now. Keeps touching her. Do you keep it that way on purpose? Yes. Okay, and so then he just continues to like touch her in front of all of these animatronics. And if I tell you to stop, he stills for half a second before he gives into my eager and applies glorious pressure. Tell me to stop and see what happens. So she does. I guess testing boundaries, I guess maybe out of genuine fear, I guess maybe just like, then he grabs some garland that was around them and starts like choking her out with it, which is crazy, and says, you feel that, Bianca? That's how I feel when other people get to look at what's mine and get hard for what's mine. I can't fucking breathe. I'd be embarrassed if I had room for anything but terror and arousal and need to survive. But he's never gonna look at you again. He carries me across the room and I cling to him desperately as he does almost nothing to support my weight and keep the pressure off my neck. Jesus Christ. But my arms are shaking and weak. The high is hard to fight. He drops me in front of the animatronic Santa and shoves my face into his lap. The thing's texture is surprisingly realistic, and unlike the others, he isn't waving. This thing must be kept in a barn because it fucking reeks. You want Santa to see your cunt so badly? Let him watch while I use it. Oh my God. So then I was like, this is like a horrifying situation, right? Obviously, like, this is, I guess, the, like, non-consensual shit. I feel like we crossed Dubcon a hot minute ago, but, like, whatever y'all gotta tell yourself to enjoy the shit. But I'm over here, like, you're just being assaulted, making eye contact with a lifeless snowman waving at you. I didn't want our first time to be like this, Bianca. I'm sorry. So then they, like, finish this, like, whole scene. And then he fucking drugs her. So she wakes up in bed the next day I stretch, I roll my joints, and note with surprise that my ankle isn't as sore as I expect it to be. I look down and it's propped up on a pillow. Did he rub my injury for me after he choked, fucked, and drugged me? Yeah, bestie, it sure do be looking like that. I turn the paper over and I check the message right away. Like he said, it's not up to me to decide how important they are. Get your affairs in order and drink plenty of water, Snowflake. Christmas Eve, you're mine. I look over to my elf costume and shoes I ditched while running from him, neatly piled in the corner. They're wrapped in a bag, like they've been dry cleaned. Okay, I guess. So we go into chapter 3 after Bianca wakes from straight up assault. We ain't gonna be shy about it. Like, I'll call it as it is, right? She got assaulted and then woke up in her bedroom. But hey, again, the author said that. The author gave us an appropriate content warning that is exactly what would happen. The author gave us a content warning for Stockholm Syndrome. I'm like not okay with what's happening in the sense of like morally. You know what I mean? Like, nor should I, but I'm not mad at it because I was warned appropriately. Does that make sense? Like, so much of my beef and so much of like my rant reviews and shit talking about dark romance stems from a place of not warning your readers about what is happening and not calling it what it is. Yeah, girly pop, call it Stockholm Syndrome, call it abuse, call it non-consensual, call it SA. Like, give me fucking at face value what is happening in your book. Like, let's all be honest with each other and I'll read it and I'll be fine with what you're writing. Even if it is the most insane shit I have ever read in my entire life, I'll be okay with it because you told me that's what I was getting. My issue is I've had a couple people comment about like, oh, you don't like dark romance. Like, why do you read books you don't like? Like, why do you read dark stuff if like this isn't what you're into? I enjoy dark romance. I enjoy dark themes, but just tell me that that's what we're getting into and don't be fucking shady about it. My problem comes when Lucy Score, Colleen Hoover, in my opinion, are writing abusive characters and acting like that is supposed to be hot and attractive and normalized. You can't put contemporary romance, you can't put normal romance on a fucking book and then write something that is inherently abusive. I think that's up, and that's where my personal rage comes from with authors these days. So like, this book might be one of the craziest, one of the heaviest, one of the most outright assault books that I've ever read, and I am okay with it because the author told me that that's what I was getting into. I hope that makes sense. So in chapter 3, Bianca wakes up from this assault and she is reflecting on her roommate Gina. Gina is a bitch. Gina hates noise. Bianca, the second that she closes a cupboard too loud, Gina wakes up screaming about it, and she's just a total beezy in the morning. Gina really is something, but after 3 years together, I'm used to her attitude. At least she always has her half of the bills on time and doesn't steal my food. That's an improvement from my past experience. Then she gets a call at 7:30 a.m. and she's like, that's kind of weird. It's from a number that she doesn't recognize, and this is Detective Adams from Central City PD. Oh God, I hope my mom isn't hurt. Kevin hasn't sent her to the hospital in years, but I try to keep calm. Kevin is her stepfather who used to abuse her and her mother until a couple of years ago when all of a sudden it stopped and it just like never happened again. Also, would like to note that she is disappointed that it's not Klaus. She genuinely thought that it would be, and she's kind of upset that it's not. So again, Stockholm Syndrome, she's not upset about it. Dubious consent bullshit, whatever you want to call it. She's kind of into it. She's like, man, I kind of miss Klaus. Like, I kind of wish that was him, but it's a detective. The detective says, hey, come to the mall right now. She's like, oh, can you tell me what for? Detective says, no. Will that be a problem? Are you going to show up on your own? Or do I need to send some cops to drag you to the police station? She's like, I guess I'll be at the mall in 30 minutes. Fucking, what a douchebag. So she goes to the mall thinking about all of the things that went wrong. And she's like, oh my God, we're on video. Klaus and I having sex, it must be on a video. And like, they're going to get me for like public indecency or something, right? Like, that's what she's expecting. I'm stepping into the parking lot when I remember that he plunged a needle into my throat and knocked me out. I sure as Christmas didn't drive home. I'm about to pull out my phone and use my favorite rideshare app when I see my little blue sedan parked in the usual spot. As I approach, I'm half hoping that he's there, waiting for me. I'm half terrified of the same thing. The car is running. The windows scraped and meticulously brushed. The only car in the lot free from snow. I get inside and it's warm. A little sprig of mistletoe hangs from the rearview mirror. White berries gleaming. It smells amazing. What on earth did he do? He fucking choked you out and drugged you, Bianca. This is not romantic. But for some reason, I don't believe myself. A trademarked letter waits for me on the dashboard. This one is fresh and immaculate. He must have left it this morning when he dropped off the car. Not romantic, Bianca. Sorry about the trouble, Snowflake. Remember when I said you didn't want to see my face yet? Well, I know you don't like to lie, Klaus. P.S. I don't want a lot for Christmas, but your spread will be underneath my Christmas tree. I don't think I said it, but like earlier, while he was like assaulting her in front of the waving snowman, she asked him to like pull his mask off so she could see his face. Like she was like into it at that point and was like, oh yeah, like, you know, like let's like make this like a bonding situation, like let me see your face. And he refused to take his mask off. So that's what that's referencing. I smile so hard my cheeks hurt before I remember why I'm in the car so early driving to the mall when I'm supposed to be off work for the day. Tomorrow is the 20th, the day of my final and the last day of the semester. I hate spending Christmas with my mom and stepdad, but that's the plan. It's too bad that there's no way that Klaus will get his wish. There's no way that I could tell my mom I decided to spend the holiday with my stalker. She'd have me locked up. So she drives to the mall, she shows up, she walks past the crime scene tape. One of the cops takes her to the detective's like little office thing that he has set up. What happened? That's what I wanted to ask you. According to your coworker, you left here last night, after most employees. That's true. The footage is missing. Did you see anything suspicious? I blink rapidly. The video footage is missing. He hasn't seen what I've done. Katie told him I was one of the last people here last night, which is true. If they don't know that I got screwed in that display, there's no way they're taking a bit of vandalism this seriously. Is someone hurt? Someone's dead. Who? Ralph Simpson. Oh my God, what happened? Please, Miss Rossi. That's her last name. Bianca Rossi. I understand this may come as a shock, but I need to know anything you may have seen or heard before I tell you any details. I was distracted last night. I left late and I was focused on getting to my car. I don't think I saw anything unusual. Ralph left more than an hour before me. The entire day is wiped from surveillance, but his car never left the parking lot. Did you see anyone or anything out of the ordinary, Miss Rossi? This is very important. I had my headphones in. I'm such a fucking liar. I know exactly who killed Ralph. I didn't see his car since we weren't parked near one another. That's a real shame. Why are they investigating the window display? That's where he was found. Whoever did this is a real sick son of a bitch. They propped him up in his chair, still dressed in his costume. We're just lucky one of the janitors found him before some kid. They have a little bit more conversation, and she goes to leave, and she realizes, wait a minute. Did you say Ralph was found in Santa's chair in the display? Yes. Does it mean something to you? Just that the lap my face was shoved into last night felt more real than I expected of a holiday animatronic and smelled awful. Let Santa watch while I fuck you. No, it just seems especially cruel. No! I was driving home when I heard that. Like, when they first made the one comment about the animatronic smelling bad, like smelling especially bad, I said, there's no way. I was right. You sick fucks. So she goes out to her car to leave and runs into Klaus. Klaus is hiding in her back seat, and he's like, don't scream, Snowflake. She's like, I wouldn't. They had this whole back and forth, whatever. She's like, why would you shove me in the lap of a dead man? Like, what the fuck, you sicko? And Klaus is like, how was your punishment? She's like, that was my punishment? Like, why didn't you just spank me or something? And he's like, you would like that. That's not really punishment, dear. I was like, she's like, how do you know that I didn't tell them anything? He's like very trusting, very knowledgeable of the fact that, you know, she didn't have anything to tell them. And he's like, that's why I didn't show you my face. So you couldn't rat me out. And also, like, I know that you wouldn't. I know that you didn't. What if I did tell them everything? You're still on my nice list, Snowflake. I know you didn't. How? Because I've always known everything about you. Now stop asking questions. You're going to drive me out of here and officially become my accomplice. Or I'll choke you to death and make you come while you die. What the fuck? I start the engine and begin to pull out. Same, bestie. I don't know how you wouldn't. And they say romance is dead. His deep, smooth laughter rings out behind me. God, I'd love to fuck your throat right now, turn your cheeks as red as Santa's suit, but I have work to do to prepare for Christmas. So she's driving them, you know, abiding by his directions, driving like wherever. Drop me in the next corner. I drive another half block and then I stop the car. He releases my neck, leaving me strangely hollow. Klaus gets out of the car and quickly darts to the other side of the street. At the last minute, he looks back, seeming to change his mind. He stomps back over to me. I roll my window down. An oversized hand reaches through, grabs my hair and tips my head up. The other hand slides to his mask just far enough to expose his lips, and then they're on mine. Fucking bliss. I said, not me saying, "Aw." Am I okay? I was listening to that on my drive to work, and I said, "Aw, girl, I don't even know the right reaction to give myself. I love." So in chapter 4, Bianca is at Katie's house. Like, after finding out that Ralph got murdered, they have a little girls' powwow. They have a little, oh my god, the world's dangerous and I'm scared, and they hang out together. It's this like whole debacle, and she continues to be distant, and Katie feels bad about telling the cops that Bianca was the last person in the mall, and Bianca's like, "Hey, it's okay, dude, like, you told them the truth." They have a little bit more back and forth, and Klaus. I say his name out loud, feeling breathless. He said all I had to do was speak it and he'd appear, but that can't be true. It's not even real. "What'd you say?" she asks, but she didn't really hear me. "Nothing. You're right. It could have been anyone. It's really scary. My final is tomorrow and Katie's apartment is farther from school, but I'm too afraid to stay alone. Too wet at the idea of a fucking murderous stalker breaking into my apartment. No, I can't afford to be alone." They continue to have some back and forth, and Katie's like, "Hey, you seem really concerned about stuff. Like, it seems like it's beyond this whole Ralph thing." Bianca continues to push back, talking about how it's just that school's ending soon and she doesn't know what she's going to do with her life. "I know you're right, but I can't help it, B. You know that I worry about you." It's hard not to, given the state that I was in when I met her at 13. My mom had been married to Richard, my stepdad, for a year, and he'd been beating the crap out of me. My mother never did anything because he was beating her worse, but it stopped shortly after, and I still don't know why he stopped. Katie doesn't really know the extent. She only thinks that she knows. My mom isn't a bad person, but she's weak, and I hate going home. Richard hasn't touched me in years, but the memories and resentment haven't faded. I don't know if he's still hurting her. She keeps that kind of thing hidden. Katie and Bianca go to sleep. Bianca wakes up to Klaus touching her, saying, "Hey, yeah, you called me. Like, of course I showed up." She's like, "Oh my god, but I was sleeping and I woke up to you touching me. Like, what else have you done while I was sleeping?" "Most of the time, I just made sure you were safe. I watched you, imagined what you would look like if you opened those icy blue eyes and saw my fat cock inches from your face. Fucking desperate to give you my cum." "Did you?" He laughs softly, seeing the question for exactly what it is. Hope rather than fear. "Not until last night, pretty snowflake. We both felt you take my cum for the Jesus Christ. Take it for the first time. This might be one of the smuttiest things I've ever read." Here's the part that I read to you. Here's just spice. Schmutty spice that I don't need to read more of. You get the point. And then he disappears into the night after they do it. Chapter 5. At 3 o'clock the following day, she takes her test. It was hard, but she did okay. And she goes to the cafeteria afterward to get a bite to eat, and she gets a call from her boss, and her boss is like, "Bianca, WTF, you're 20 minutes late for your shift." Bianca's like, "Ralph just died. What do you mean my shift? I didn't think that we would go if we didn't have a Santa Claus." Boss lady says, "I hired a replacement. It's the busiest time of year. Like, it's literally about to be Christmas. I hired someone to take over. You need to come back in and do your shift." Bianca says, "My bad. I'll be there in 20 minutes. Can you guess what's about to happen? She shows up. Okay, that was a joke at first. I'm not kidding anymore. I need to get it together. She shows up and I glance up at my new coworker, at first seeing nothing wrong. He may be young, but he's wearing a puffy suit and beard. He's hugely tall, which may surprise people. His cap completely covered his hair, and green eyes like pine needles pierce me. My heart stops for a full second before picking up again. He smiles, and I still can't see his face with the damn beard on, but enough is visible to understand how utterly devastating my stalker is. How rocked I am in his presence unmasked after all this time. Why would someone like him pay attention to me? Women must throw themselves at him. Holy shit, this man is perfect. And he's been inside me, eating my cat, pressed my face into a corpse. Impossibly green eyes cut across his olive-toned cheeks. He's still fair, but not how I typically imagine someone with red hair. I'm white like a sheet compared to him. Freckles scatter his cheeks, but not so many as to obstruct the view. They provide him with a false air of innocence, which is such an utter crock of shit. Wide, sharp cheekbones, a half smile notching up his cheek. I can't see his jaw now, but I remember it from when he kissed me. I don't think I said it. I think it was maybe when he came over to Katie's house that he had unmasked or something, and so she was able to see him or see his hair, one of the two, and he's beautifully handsome and he's huge and his dick's just so big. The usual shit. Do I even need to say that? I feel like all this is implied. I keep working through the busiest shift that I've seen so far. Carmen was right that a lot of people were upset over us being closed for a day. I know this because they tell me. And the line is dense throughout the night. I try not to stare at Klaus, but how am I supposed to reconcile someone so gentle and attentive to children is also a murderer, is also an unaliver? At one point throughout the night, a man walks by a few times. I wouldn't have noticed him at all, except he keeps getting close to me, and once his toe stubs mine when it comes into the workshop. The next time, Klaus stands and calls him over to the booth. I immediately start to tremble. Either he knows him and it's bad, or he doesn't and it's bad. They talk in whispers. I don't have a chance of hearing, and I'm certain none of this will work out in my favor. The guy smiles, and they shake hands. Klaus returns to Santa's seat, and while his smile is bright, his eyes have a murderous glint. Okay, that's a little horrifying. She continues her shift, as per usual, because she has no choice. She needs money. They get to a 15-minute break, and Klaus, calls her over to him. Why do you look so scared? What are you gonna do to the children? Nothing, Snowflake. I like kids. Don't insult me again or you'll pay for it. Ew. They keep talking back and forth. And then eventually, I had to put my phone down and, push that away physically. What happens next in the chapter is nothing happens to Bianca, which is good. Praise be. But it's insinuated and talked about in such a way that is, incredibly triggering to read, let alone say out loud. So I'm not going to. But that guy that Klaus was talking to wanted to S.A. her. And Klaus said, yeah, buddy, meet me after work and we will S.A. her together. And so after the shift, Klaus, forcibly gets Bianca into his car with this man. And that is, what is insinuated and talked about in front of Bianca's face that they are going to do to her. Jesus Christ. I was cool with the book up until that point. I can overlook a lot of things. That, physically makes me nauseous. Even saying all of the words I just did as lightly and, glossing over as I just did, I feel physically ill in my core. Don't worry, though, okay? So, the only thing that I do want to note from that portion is, at the end of it, Klaus says, trust me, friend. I've been planning to have her since we were 13. Bianca's thinking to herself, 13? Is that when I met him? We're the same age? Who the hell is this guy? I don't know. I don't think I want to know. Oh my God. So what is happening though, right? And this is where I'm okay, right? So we just went through a really, really shitty chapter. I'm sorry if you had to go through that with me. Hopefully you're still here because we're about to get redemption. Klaus never had the intention to S.A. her with this man. Klaus instead drives them to the middle of nowhere, drives them to a Christmas tree farm after hours. But they get there, right? They get to this Christmas tree farm first, and before we get to the violence, in which I will praise in a moment, which violence is bad. The big wooden sign, this is Klaus's perspective, the big wooden sign glows with the lights beneath it, and I slow down as I turn in and up the long winding drive. I've been coming here since I was a kid, and so has Bianca. I watch it on her face as she recognizes where we are, and I wonder if she remembers meeting me here all those years ago. I watch her face in the mirror. She doesn't. I shouldn't be surprised, but I am angry. He pulls over and begins to unalive the man in front of Bianca for being a creep. He eventually has relations with her over this man's corpse as well. I don't know what you want from me. Bianca says, Klaus, thank you for not letting him hurt me. That surprises me. She's shaking, but now I look closer and maybe she doesn't see me as a monster. He wanted to. He would have tried to argue if I wasn't there. Her gratitude slows my approach and takes the worst of my anger. Her pretty palms face me in surrender. And then they have this whole back and forth about how much of a creep that the guy actually was. And she's like, oh my God, like, you're so nice. Like, I can't believe that you would actually do this to protect me. And then he, like, takes her back to her house. I don't know. I skimmed over it and I don't care to go back. I think after that, like, whole traumatic scene, he takes her back home to her apartment. He goes to leave and runs into Bianca's roommate. The roommate says, you should leave her alone. She's not a bad person. And who the f*** are you to make that decision? Roommate doesn't answer because she knows as well as I do that if she pushes it, the answer will be a dead girl. Don't become another lesson I need to teach Bianca. Gulp. And then Gina says, if we have problems, you have problems. She answers ominously as she heads back into her room. My little snowflake has no idea what the people in her life are really like. What? What does that mean? What does any of it mean? Chapter 7, we're back to Bianca's perspective. Bianca is texting Katie, and Katie is like, oh my God, the new Santa's so hot. And she's like, yeah, I know. He's a little babe. And then she goes to leave after getting ready, and she runs into Gina in the kitchen. And Gina is like, hey, I'm moving out. I'm not renewing the lease. Like, I'm getting the fuck out of here. Can I ask why? Do you remember when we met? Yeah, it was 3 years ago. You answered my flyer. Don't find another roommate the same way. Ask a friend or family member. Find someone you know. Gina, what are you talking about? You're scaring me. He asked me to stay here, to keep an eye on you. He paid me. It's not worth it. I won't do it anymore. He? Who's he? Gina. You know who I mean. But I don't know who he really is either. Just that I've never been a college student and I've never paid you rent. I decided you deserved the truth. After 3 years? Yes. I never pretended I was a good person. I'm scared. So Klaus hired Gina to live with Bianca to keep an eye on her and to keep her safe and all this other stuff. Okay, so Bianca goes to work like normal, and Klaus is Santa Claus, and she's just a little elf, so she just gotta play the part and keep on going. Tries to confront him about it a little bit, and is like, like, yo, WTF? And he's just like, yeah, what of it? He's like, I've been paying half your rent. I hired someone to keep an eye on you. Like, what do you want about it? I've been taking care of it. Ultimately, Klaus says, she was never a spy, Snowflake. Okay, so maybe she wasn't. I was. I don't care what he says. She was for sure. She was never a spy, Snowflake. She was simply a dour deterrent. D-O-U-R? Is that dour? Deterrent for all types of company. And I have paid all your bills. You just don't know what I did with your rent yet. Consider me your savings account. I don't even know what to say to you right now. I'm so angry about so many things I could scream, and he fucking laughs. What is so goddamn funny? I really didn't think I had an actual chance to win you over, but you're mad at me right now like I'm your boyfriend, and I think it's because you like me, Snowflake. And she does. Let's not lie to ourselves. Of course she does. She likes him. She always has liked him. She likes the attention. A whole bunch of back and forth. There's another scene with like, there's a kid and he's just so kind and he's just like such a gentleman and he's so good with children and it's so hot. He's not a monster. He's just misunderstood. They make out. I don't know. And then she's like, I wish I could spend Christmas with you, but I can't. I have plans with my family and I can't break them. I wish I could, though, despite everything. I want to spend it with you. So you're choosing your family over me? I don't see it that way, Klaus. Can I come with you? What should I tell them? I can't. I see. For a moment, I think he understands, and then I feel a familiar pinch at my neck. No! I see you when you're sleeping, Snowflake. I know you're mine to take. Within seconds, the heavy drugs take me under. Jesus fucking Christ. Chapter 8! We're back in Klaus's perspective. He kidnapped Bianca. The drugs are still thick in her system, so she'll be out for a while. My Snowflake and I have f***ed all the standard ways except Anne. So I feel no guilt in stripping her naked and taking advantage of what I know to be mine. I'm not getting into that. He essays her while she's asleep. It's literally an entire chapter dedicated to him essaying her while she's drugged. Literally an entire chapter dedicated to that. So chapter 9, we're back to Bianca's perspective. We're about to wrap this up. It takes me a full moment to realize I'm stuffed fuller than I've ever been in my life. And I'm not reading this. Again, this is another one of those, like, I gotta push my phone away from me. I forgot that this is what happened. So in chapter 9, she wakes up, she's sore. She feels like she ran a marathon. And there's like stuff inside of all of the holes. She wakes up on Christmas morning. He's there. He's like, hey, Snowflake. She's like, hey, Santa. They go downstairs. The living room is like chock full of presents. She's like, oh my God, it's so beautiful. I'm so spoiled. I'm so happy. He's like, why don't you open one? Surprise, all of them are for you. It's so normal and domestic that my brain short circuits and I think I've actually gone insane. He's watching me process all of this with his usual smile, like he's never hacked a man apart with an axe in his life. Come on. He waves me toward the door, nudging me lightly when I don't budge. Snowflake, stop being suspicious. There's absolutely nothing. The sounds of bound and struggling people coming from the other room interrupt his bullshit. My head snaps in that direction and Klaus pushes me harder. He has the mother and the stepfather bound in the dining room. Uh-oh. Not my mom, Klaus. Snowflake, you're coming very close to insulting me again. Do you really think that I plan to hurt your mother? I don't know. I decide that an honest answer is better than a lie, even if I do insult him. He reaches out an oversized hand and gently strokes my cheek. Your mother is only bound because she refused to be agreeable. I have not, and have no intentions to hurt her. However, I must point out that she's rather bruised, and that is not my doing. I should have put your mother on the no-touching list a long time ago. I apologize for that. He then goes on to brutally, violently, painstakingly unalive the stepfather in front of her. Ends the entire situation with like untying her mother and she had like a gag in her mouth, like takes out the gag and says, it's a family rule that we don't spend Christmas with women beaters, Sharon. Your daughter's my family now. You literally murdered somebody on Christmas, I snap. I still don't beat women. That's hot. This is all a joke. I don't mean anything I'm saying. Violence is bad. I still don't beat women. Now eat your fucking eggs. You have a lot of presents to open. He turns to my sobbing mother with a broad smile. Don't worry, Mom. I picked some nice things out for you, too. Your favorite color's still teal, right? No one answers him. I'm trying to make a good impression on your mother, Snowflake. You could try to be helpful. We go to an epilogue. I don't care. Am I reading this? I just read the epilogue. Sorry, I didn't read it earlier. It's a pretty quick one. It's Klaus's perspective, and he goes to like a mental health services thing, and then he greets his counselor with his fake name and says, well, I finally made a move with the girl. And the therapist counselor person is like freaking the fuck out. And he's like, you didn't do something that can't be undone, did you? I've done a lot of things that can't be undone. You know, if you drop a plate, it doesn't mend simply because it was an accident. Well, while I'm glad you've been listening, the extensiveness and complexity of your notes and surveillance wouldn't convince a single judge or jury anything that you've done to her is an accident. You're much too serious, Dr. Shane. She fell in love with me, just like I told you she would. I didn't need to snap her neck or anything. You just wanted to. I always want to hurt her, but if I play too rough, I don't get to play again. You know the most important part of all is keeping her safe. Do you love her? She's the best present I've ever gotten. Dr. Shane and his hypnotherapy couch is in a book in the series, Mind to Bend. This is technically book like 1.5, so I guess Mind to Bend is book 2 in the series. What the fuck? I'm gonna throw my phone across the room. Hello? Let me get situated. Okay, hey, so what the fuck did I just read? I feel like I opened this a lot nicer than I should have. Maybe I was a lot more understanding. I was a lot more of an understanding Kaylee 2 hours ago when I first started filming. I think rereading it, I feel a lot differently now, and I apologize. I apologize for the approval rating that I gave this book. What the fuck? Okay, so what are my thoughts on the book? I love revenge. I think revenge and protecting a woman is hot. I think if you give me the proper trigger warnings and heads up about what your book is about, I could read anything. I'm open to whatever, as long as you like appropriately notify your readers about what they're getting into. That shit was crazy. That shit was a lot. It wasn't really Christmas magic quite like I thought it was. I was hoping to read about a legitimate Santa Claus. that wasn't Santa Claus. That was just a mentally ill man. Was it bad? No, I think it gave enough of like a heads up to not be bad. So I'm not going to critique it for like, oh, this is perpetuating abuse and this is like normalizing abusive behavior, which is normally my number one complaint, because it's not. I feel like it was self-aware and it gave the proper trigger warnings and like acknowledgement that it was Stockholm Syndrome and not good and like something you shouldn't do in real life. So I'm okay with that part. So it was dark and fun and crazy in that sense of like, I knew that we all knew that this was a made up crazy time and just a mentally ill man. I hope that makes sense. I don't mind reading about abusive mentally ill men as long as we all call it for what it is at face value. You know, I don't know. It was fine. No complaints here. I love revenge. I think that's all I have to say. So I will end this review by saying, thanks for watching. I appreciate your time. Like I said, please partake in the weekly polls that I put up on the channel. I'm always interested to hear what you have to say. Check me out on Spotify. Become a member if you would like to. And otherwise, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.